Now, someone gave us a number of books here not too long ago, and there's something in here that I want to share with you because I know what happens when we go through this particular session. A lot of people go away from it and they ask this question instead of studying. What do you mean by vibration? What do you really mean? Well, this is about the best definition I've ever found. Every thought changes the rate of vibration. As you are enabled to think greater, deeper, higher, and more forceful thoughts, the brain cells are refined and they become more powerful, and they are enabled to receive finer vibrations. What does that mean? I say time and time again to people that we don't get what we want, but we do get what we are. Now, you've got to really think about this. We don't get what we want, but we do get what we are. That's probably one of the most important things that I've ever heard. Not only heard, but it's one of the most important things I've ever learned. How do we actually get what we want? By becoming something different in vibration. Now, let me allude to something that I mentioned earlier and something Bob's been talking about quite a bit. When you talk about the attitude of an individual, I mean the total person. What you're actually stating is that my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions represent what is called my attitude. Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions towards your personal life? Just toward you as an individual. What are your thoughts, feelings, and actions, let's say, towards your income or your business life? What are your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, let's say, towards your family life? Because you see, your thoughts, feelings, and actions is what determines your state of vibration. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions, it actually determines who and what you are, as well as what it is you're going to get. As well as what it is you're going to get. Now, I want to cover just one concept to show you how you can actually begin to do it. Here's the first thing you've got to understand, is that knowing does not precede doing. Now, I want you to really think about what I just said. Knowing does not precede doing. The moment we as individuals begin to focus on a particular objective, or we start to look at what it is we want, we don't necessarily feel good about getting it. We can see it, we can think about it, but we don't necessarily feel good about doing it. I'm going to give you a good example. How many people here in sales? That's a few. The rest of you beware. Now consider this for a moment. How many people here really get up, enthusiastic, and enjoy cold calling? How many do not? Now keep your hands up, the ones who do not. Is it true, though, that you know you must do it? Isn't it true that you would like to feel comfortable doing it? The moment that you start to go out cold calling, or as Paul mentioned yesterday, meeting that particular girl. Okay, put your hands down now. Or meeting that particular guy. That is suddenly a demand that changes your rate of vibration, or changes, you could say, the way that you feel. Now, consciously, you know what you have to do. You know what it is you're working toward. You know what it is you want, but inside there's a feeling, an uncomfortable feeling, or you could say a rate of vibration giving you feedback telling you why you can't do it. Now, this is what you have to do in very, very simple terms. How many learned to drive with a stick shift? Do you remember what it was like? Now, isn't it true that consciously you had all the knowledge to drive that car? Yes, no? And you get in there, and you're anything like me, you had a person sitting beside you. And they said, now here's what I want you to do. They're giving you instructions. They said, I want you to put foot in clutch, put the other one in the brake. Hold both hands in the wheel. Then reach over, make sure you pull this thing up, put it down there in the first, reach over and start the car. Now, as soon as you got to start it, make sure you keep one foot in the clutch, the other one in the brake. Now, as soon as you're all ready, I want you to let your foot off clutch just a little bit. As soon as you do, take foot off brake, same time, get a little bit of gas. Get it going about 10, 15 miles an hour. Now, keep in mind, now what you got to do, as soon as you get it going 10, 15 miles an hour, the engine starts to roar. So what do? Take foot off the gas, put the one in the clutch, put it up there in a second. Take foot off the clutch again, put it back in the gas. Get it going to about 20, 25. Now, be careful now. You don't want to go too far because the engine will start to roar again. You burn the engine out. So I'm sure as soon as you do that, you put your foot in the clutch again. Take foot off the gas, though, at the same time, and you put it down there in the third, take it back off the clutch again, put it back in the gas, you get it going. You got it? Got it. Now, they said, now, just before you pull out, I want you to be careful now. I want you to take one hand, put it over here behind me, keep the other one on the wheel, keep one in the clutch, keep the other one on the brake. Now, they said, as soon as you relax, take this hand back here and take it, grab it down there where it was in third, put it up there into first, put your hand back here, now you got it back up there in reverse. Now, keep your hand in the wheel there, keep the other one in the clutch, keep the foot in the brake, and then start to let it off the clutch just a little bit. As soon as you do, put it in the gas. But just before you do that, make sure you look this way. No cars coming that way, no kids in front. Make sure you look this way. Somebody may be walking behind the car. Now, as you got this here thing going, you're standing like this. What I really want you to do now, as soon as you back that up a little bit, make sure you put your foot back in brake, but make sure you put it back in the clutch again, and put your hand back over, pull it down in the first. As soon as you do that, take it off the clutch, off the brake, then get it going in the gas, go through the same procedure, hit the clutch, put it back up there in the second, take it off the clutch, put it back in the gas, get it going again, and take it off what? Off the gas, put it back in the clutch, put it down in the third, back in the gas, and away you go. You got it? Yeah. Now, what actually happened is you had all the knowledge to drive the car. But you know what's interesting? You were not yet in harmony with your idea. But you started to do it not once, but over and over and over again. And as Bob pointed out yesterday, until the idea became fixed. You developed a sufficient number of brain cells to do it. Now think about this. You have got in mind something that we call a goal. Now, where you are today or where your thoughts have brought you, I don't mean sitting in this room. But I mean that everything that you have brought in your life, everything that you have to this point in time is a result, nothing more, of the state of vibration you were in mentally, emotionally, and physically. Now, folks, instead of working so much toward this on the outside, we have to increase our state of vibration in this way. The more and more that you think about where you're going and how you're going to get there, and you go out and act on the idea. And you know that's the difference? People will not act on the thing they want. They seem to entertain themselves by visualizing that they can have it, how nice it would be to get it, but when it comes to acting on it, their vibration, the way they feel about it, tells them they can't have it. So they spend their life dreaming rather than acting. What was it one time said? And all that was left when his living was through were the mountain of things he intended to do tomorrow. Let me ask you this. What habit patterns do you need to get to where you want to go? What habit patterns do you need to get to where you want to go? I believe it was Oscar Wilde who said one time, why is it that you and I were never told that in our brain we hold, in just one single tiny ivory cell, this kingdom called heaven, or this kingdom called hell? In other words, when you impress your idea, you cause these cells to move at a certain rate of vibration. Do you know when you take an idea and you impregnate it over and over again, you impregnate that idea into one cell. When you impregnate that idea into the cell, that cell is dividing 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8, 8 into 16 to 32, 64. And the process goes on at the rate of 50,000 cells per second. And the more and more you act on it, even though you don't feel good about it, but you work with the idea, you start to develop this change in vibration. But what is really happening is you're impregnating the cells with the characteristic or the idea. And these cells are going to search out the very thing necessary to get you to where you want to go, to complete the manifestation of that idea. What was the great statement by our friend Einstein that he had burned into the corner of his desk. He said it was responsible for every great invention. When he said that all creation waits with eager longing for the revealing through the sons of man, you and I. In other words, everything that you want is already here. The best way to do what you're doing, it's already here. It's never been thought of, but it's already here. It's just that it's in, as Bob explained, in another form. What we need to do is we need to constantly think about where we're going, what we want to do, and we start to increase our level of thinking by vibration, and we begin to attract thoughts of a like nature that'll move us in that direction. But you can't sit and wish. There is a difference in wanting a thing and being ready to receive it. And being ready to receive it. So just suppose you know what it is you want, and you ask yourself, what habits do I need to form or develop to bridge the gap from where I now find myself to the point I want to reach? You know the only difference in steam and ice is the state of vibration of the water or the H2O. Do you know the only difference in where you are versus where you want to go is your state of vibration? Do you know that everything to get you there is already here? And it always has been. There's a gentleman that I have not met. He's in the audience today. And his name is Boris Pico. Listen to this. This man lost or did not have a car or his driver's license, I'm not sure which. But Boris, where are you? Boris, stand up so everybody can see you for a moment. Boris sold in 1 month without a car 28 homes. But listen to this. What is really interesting is he stands up there. Boris is not going to speak, so it's okay. I just want you to see him. I never even met you, Boris. I just was reading this. Without a car, he sold 28 homes in a month. And he said what happened is, just walk down a little bit, Boris, so people can see you a little bit better there. And what happened is, because he didn't have a car, he said, I decided just to go out and knock on doors every day. Now you see, as a result of that, he not only formed the habit, but he changed his entire state of vibration. Consequently, everything that was in harmony with the way Boris thinks, with the way Boris feels, and the way Boris acts, he started to attract that very thing into his life. That very thing into his life. Without a car. Without a car. Why don't we give Boris a hand? Now, let me tell you one of the reasons I think we don't get to where we want to go. I think it's because we try to be too realistic and too practical about the goals that we set. Now, I've heard people come to me and they'd say, you know, you've got to be realistic and you've got to be practical. I can tell you that's the one thing that no one can ever accuse Bob of being, is practical or realistic. Hans Selye, who was the greatest doctor on stress on this earth, anywhere he'd speak, he would attract some of the greatest minds from all over this earth. And I've carried this around with me for a long time, this statement by Selye. And Selye said that he found beyond a shadow of a doubt that practical and realistic people are not as practical and realistic in the long run of life as the dreamers who pursue their dreams. There's an article about a man on here who applied to every United States medical school and was refused by every single one of them, telling him he would never be a doctor. Now keep in mind, the idea that he held was searching out in all these cosmos, every corner of these cosmos, to find a way for that idea to become a reality. And they all rejected him. and almost say the idea doesn't work. And then he wrote it once more. He did it again. They rejected him the second time. And then he wrote once more, and they rejected him the third time. Don't you think that was enough to change his state of vibration? Don't you think that was enough for him to turn his desires inward and give up on the goal or the idea? They say depression is energy at its lowest state of vibration. They say that success is energy at its highest state of vibration. Happiness, joy, is orderly vibration. Well, I took this idea because this man, I think you know, as the man with the first artificial heart. In other words, he invented the first artificial heart. Anybody know who I'm talking about? Dr. Jarvik. 3 times he was rejected. But he kept on, and he kept on, and he made it. I took that idea to a gal who had given up on life. Call her at any time. Her name, Robinson. Hillary Robinson. Hillary was not in the healthiest state at the time. In other words, her state of vibration was very low because Hillary stopped looking in the direction that she should have been looking in. She wasn't expecting things to happen in her life for a happier, for a healthier, for a more productive life. She was not looking for it. Consequently, she wasn't getting it. And as we started to talk to Hillary, remember what I pointed out here? That every thought changes the rate of vibration. You see, if I were to take someone right out here in the platform and I started to get you to build a picture on the screen of your mind about something that is pleasant, that is enjoyable, something that you truly would like to have, you truly would like to be, you would change your state of vibration. If you can maintain it for a period of time, you would enjoy it longer. If you can maintain it for an additional period of time, not only would you enjoy it longer, you'd start to meet people like you. You'd start to bring things consistent with that rate of vibration or state of vibration. In other words, your outside world would change because your inside world has changed. Because your inside world has changed. You could call her at any time. Because you know what happened to this young lady? I'm not going to read her goals and the things she's achieved, but we sat beside her and she listed all of her goals, 10 of them. While she was in that negative state of vibration, we were able to get her to see herself in a different light. She started to list the goals, and she's achieved every single one of them, and I'll throw one more in as a bonus. She just opened her own company with her husband recently. I'll guarantee you, Bill Lawrence, you must know Hillary Robinson that worked with Roy Stevens. Everything changed when her state of vibration changed. And when your state of vibration changes, it changes as a result of your attitude changing. In other words, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, when they change, your whole energy that's being expressed begins to change. Now, on page 46 at the very top, on vibrations and goals, numerous times in other programs it has been suggested that everything you are seeking is seeking you. Think about that. I just mentioned that you are today where your thoughts have brought you. Because as we think, we actually travel. As we think, we travel. We may be able to stand still physically, but we are forever moving in thought. We are forever moving in thought toward that which we most secretly love, be it base of beautiful or a mixture of both. For we always gravitate towards that which we most secretly love. Always do. Even the things we don't like are the things we love. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them. It was suggested that we already have everything that we want. You don't have to get anything. It is simply a matter of becoming aware of what you already have, for it is within. It's with you always. If energy is neither created nor destroyed, everything you will ever want is already here. Now think about that. A higher rate of vibration always destroys a lower rate of vibration. If we have negative things in our life that we don't want, we need only go to a higher order of vibration. Now, here are some questions you must answer, because it'll tell you what state of vibration you're in. Suppose I were to ask you, do you hate misery more than you love happiness? Do you hate poverty more than you love prosperity? Do you hate disease more than you love health? Because you see, if you hate these things, you increase the possibility of them becoming yours. The thing you hate is yours. The thing you love is yours. Whatever it is you love, it is yours. If not in the physical world, it definitely is in the mental and spiritual world. Do you hate misery more than you love health? Do you love prosperity more than you hate poverty? More than you hate poverty. Let me go on. It is simply a matter of choosing the thoughts that will put you into harmonious vibration with the good that you desire. What are the thoughts that have put you in harmony with the good that you desire? What does your desire look like? Suppose you were to run a movie through in your mind. With you as the star and you as the director, what would it really look like? Because that's how you get into harmony with the things you desire. The moment you bring your life into harmony with the law, the negative will have taken wings, for the cause will have been removed. Think about it. If you want to remove a negative from your life, what you must do is go to a higher order. And a higher order of vibration always destroys a lower order of vibration, and negative is a lower order of vibration. The secret to receiving on the physical plane the results you desire is covered more adequately in the lesson we went over in expectation. Think about it this way. Do you know in a limited state of understanding, we actually sit down and logically reason that we can only get something, or we can only we can't receive it, or we can't give it until we receive it. We logically try to prove that to ourselves. In a limited state of understanding, we actually try to reason that we must get before we can give. And when Bob goes through the vacuum law of prosperity, believe me, there's going to be some navels pop around this room. Some navels pop around this room. I was with my good buddy, Mike Proctor, last week, and he was telling me a story about a man that I'd sat down and talked to over a year ago. And we were talking about this very thing. I said, you know, my friend, you're in a very negative state of vibration, a very negative vibration. And he got quite upset at me. And I told him unless he changed his state of vibration, he's going to get more of the same in his life, which wasn't very much. Last month, he was at their convention. As the story goes, before the night ended, he had the chairman of the board and the senior vice president in a headlock at 1 o'clock in the morning, telling them what was wrong with the company and how he was going to change it. The next day, he didn't even remember it. But see, I said over a year ago that more of the same was going to happen unless he changed his state of vibration. Obviously, he has not, at least to that day. So this lesson then is designed to help you understand how to get into harmonious vibration with the good that you desire, and then how to stay in that state of vibration. Think about it this way. There are people who come to me and say they're looking for the right mate. How can I find the right mate? Well, what you do is be the right mate. You see, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And when you become in spirit, when you become mentally, when you become spiritually, when you become emotionally involved in what it is you want, you become that person that would have it. You become that person that would have it. The law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy. Well, I believe that Bob just briefly touched on it a moment ago when he said a person throws off a positive vibration. That person must, under the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, take on an equal amount, because as we sow, so shall you reap. In other words, when we think about something, good, bad, or indifferent, that energy that we release, we are going to take on an equal amount of exactly the same kind. You're going to take on an equal amount of the same kind. That's why some people believe, you see, that, that if it's expedient to be honest, fine, I'll be honest. If it's expedient to shade it a bit, fine, I'll shade it a bit. No, you get it all back. You get it all back. It's like they said to the old Indian when he was working with his boomerang. They said, why don't you get a new boomerang? Well, he said, every time I throw this one away, it keeps on coming back. And every time you throw out a thought, you don't have to say it verbally. You only have to think it. You only have to feel it. You're going to get it back. That's why we were taught to think well of people. To think well of people. So the law of perpetual transmutation of radiant energy, what does it teach us? Well, you see, if I were sitting down and I were talking to Brian, as a matter of fact, I meet a lot of people in my life, and if I ever wanted to be like anybody, I mean really like someone, and their attitude and just their presence and their well-being, I think it'd be Brian. A more pleasant guy, his state of vibration is so good. He has such a beautiful state of vibration. You just feel it when you're around him. It makes you feel comfortable. You like yourself because you've met him. That's because, you see, he makes you feel good about you. Now, you think about this, and then I'm going to bring this in for a landing. People go out and they say, I'm going to try this about giving and receiving. I heard this Proctor and Canary said that if you just go out and do the best you can for people, you're going to get it all back. They said it, so it must be. And I've watched people go out, like Tammy, and they give their best, and doesn't come back. And then I watch someone else will go out, and they'll give a person the best they've got, and they'll give them all the knowledge, all the information they need, and the person will stroll down to someplace else and buy what it is they want. And you say, that's it, I'll never do that again as long as I live. They were wrong. I'll never go to one of those seminars again. It's all a pile up. Let me ask you something. Have you ever received anything just like that? You never asked for it. You never really expected it. It could have been a sale where someone just walked in and said, I'll take 4 of those. And you go, you'll never believe what a coincidence. Did I ever get lucky today? Someone walked in and bought it all. Has that ever happened to anybody where you made or something happened you weren't expecting it totally? That ever happened to anybody? Am I the only one? I was going to ask how many people know how to hold up their hands. But now think about this. Your responsibility is just one. Just one. If you can understand that every thought changes your state of vibration, every thought you entertain, that means that the only responsibility we have is to put it out. To put it out. Universal principle, spirit, whatever that which is. The no thing, as Edison called it. It will reciprocate in like kind, but it does not say when or from where or through whom it is coming back. Please understand that. If I give the best I've got to Jim, I may get it back from Brian. Spirit, universal intelligence, it will determine whether I'm getting it back and when and how I'm going to get it back. I'd give anything for a young person to understand that. Because you don't get it back from the person you've given it to doesn't mean you're not getting it back. Your responsibility is to put it out. Universal intelligence will determine how, when, and through whom it is coming back. It is coming back. I'm sure that years ago in 1975 down at the Hyatt when Bob was sitting down with Paul Hutsey, that never in his wildest dreams did he ever think he was going to get back a lot of the things that he was putting out at that time. He just knew he was getting it back, but he didn't know when. But it still is. It still is. So let me ask you this. If you don't like what you're getting back in your life, I'm going to ask you, have you examined lately what you're putting out? And how you examine what you're putting out is you ask yourself, what is my state of vibration? What is it? Well, here's how you tell. What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my personal life? What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my business life? What are my thoughts, feelings, and actions toward my family life? That's how you tell. That's not difficult to do. And that'll tell you what your attitude is, what your state of vibration is, and it'll tell you why you have the things that you actually have.
You may want to review that part that John just covered, and most certainly reread page 46 and jot down the notes that come to your mind as you relate the message or the ideas on that page about vibration and goals to your own specific situation. We've given you some suggestions on other goals. We've suggested trips, cars. It may be furs or jewelry. Watch this, and then prepare yourself as we bring this in for a landing on the last cassette. There's some interesting information that I think you'll even find fascinating.